Hi, I'm Gail Sabo. It's great to meet you. I have put together a series of videos which highlight the different lessons and some of the important points of the lessons. These are here to accompany you with your readings and with your assignments to hopefully advance your learning and help you with your understanding. So I hope that you find them helpful as you go along with the chapters. Again, it won't be covering every point, but we'll be going through some of the highlights and important things that we really want to make sure that you understand and can focus on for these chapters. So we're going to start. You'll see one of these in each lesson, and hopefully you'll take the time to watch them if they're helpful to you. So as we start off and we talk about creativity, I know a lot of you are kind of anxious about starting the class on creativity. They're like, I'm not artistic, I'm not musical, how am I going to do with that? And that's a common fear. It's very, very common for people to think, well, I'm not artistic, I don't have any talents, I'm not creative, I'm not made creatively. But don't worry about that. First of all, we're going to be talking about in this course is the value of creativity and why we want to embrace it and how it helps us and helps us in the workplace and helps us personally, and what it can do for us. But the other thing I don't want you to worry about is that everyone is creative. Now, not everyone is musical, not everyone has artistic talents, not everybody is going to be Picasso, nor do we expect that from you. But what we want you to do is to be able to understand your creative talent and be able to embrace ideas and concepts that can help you to advance your creativity and use it when you need to use it or when you can use it. And to really understand that everybody is creative. Now, we are all creative, but not all of us are using our creative potential. And so we're going to be talking about that too and how we can try to help enhance that or give ourselves a break to be able to explore that a little bit better. The one thing to understand is that even though I don't know you, I know that humans are made to be creative. By design, humans are made to solve problems. By design, our brains are put together to help us to resolve and solve problems. And so, since I'm assuming all of you are human, then I know that you have the potential to do that and to use that creative talents that God gave you in order to explore problems and to find new solutions. So every day, history shows us we make inventions every day. I mean, if you just think back 10 years ago, 20 years ago, 100 years ago, where we are today compared to where we are then. We are designed to make changes. We're designed for new discoveries. We're designed to make a creative process. So don't worry about that. Humans, unlike other species, we have an innate ability to compose and decompose problems. So we have the ability to put problems and solutions together and to try to think of the pieces and the parts that consist of it and to take them apart. So we can put things together and take them back apart, which means we can put them together differently. We can move and manipulate the factors in there. So we're the only species that can do that. We can put things together and we can take them back apart. And what that's referred to is convergent and divergent thinking. So divergent thinking helps us to explore, helps us to look for new possibilities, and helps us to make associations. So this is like the decomposing of something. It's kind of, what are the parts involved in it? I'm looking at this whole. What are the parts that make that whole what it is? What are the pieces and the parts that are involved in it? So it's taking something apart. Where convergent thinking is taking a lot of parts and saying, how do I put those together into making a whole, one thing? So in convergent thinking, it helps us to test, evaluate, refine possibilities. Convergent thinking is more logical, it's more analytical, and divergent thinking is more creative and it's more exploratory. So it allows us to take things apart where convergent puts it back together. And we all have a tendency of what we like to do better. That doesn't mean we can't do both. It just means there's one that we prefer. We need to, it's more important than to have the ability to be creative, because we all have the ability to be creative. It's to want to be creative. It's to tap into that passion. Some people just really, really embrace that creativity and you see it in their everyday work, and other people really resist it. But through creativity, one of the biggest things is an open mind and willingness to do it and a desire to do it. Children, when we're born, typically we do this very readily, and the reason is that we don't have experience and we don't have judgment and we don't have rules that confine us. So one of the things that happens is we have this incredible creative mind as children, and we experiment and we explore and we imagine and we create. And then we're taught how it's done, or we're taught rules, or we're taught guidelines, and kind of put inside of boxes of what to do with that creativity. So as we get older, we tend to lose some of that creative zest. And so one of the things for us is to try to figure out how do we tap back into that, what innately ours, what we were born with. So as we mature, we suppress this creative juices, and we start to follow routines and the expectations. And we want to unblock that. And that is just kind of the design. Schools kind of create that. Structures create that. We kind of have people fall in order. And that's how we can assess things. And we don't really encourage and support that creativity, which we want to make sure that we do somewhere in our lives to keep that part going. One thing to know is that change is constant, and we must be willing to adapt or grow, or we're going to become obsolete. And this is particularly true in the business world. When we think about things like companies like, let's say, Blockbuster. Blockbuster was actually really innovative when they started with these corner stores and these video stores and all these things, and it was awesome. They had a great business model, and many of you in this room may have gone over there. Then they moved into the home delivery system, which was awesome, but Blockbuster ultimately failed. And one of the reasons they failed is because as technology advanced, they didn't. So they were cutting edge, and then they stopped there. They didn't keep inventing. They didn't keep pushing on. And so what happened is, once we had these automatic and streaming videos, and it was so much easier to access that way, they became obsolete, and they became very obsolete very quickly. So we don't want that in our lives. We don't want to become the obsolete person who's still using the phone that's attached to the wall when everybody else is on a cell phone, and we lose that opportunity to see things. So we want to be able to be creative. We want to be able to find out what's happening, to be in the know, to use new discoveries, and part of that's being open to that creative process, which is what happened in the case of Blockbuster. They simply either weren't open or weren't open fast enough. And that's what can happen. Creativity is particularly important for those that are entrepreneurs or people who want to start a new business. And this is really important for intrapreneurs as well, which is a new term for you, which are people who are going to use their great ideas inside of their organization. But when you're saying, I need to do things differently, we can't do what we've always been doing, we have to do something else. And so it's very, very valuable to use that creativity and that creative process in looking at things like that. Research shows us that those that are creative are also happier people. They live longer, and they're healthier, and they're more fulfilled in their lives. So those are really good reasons to be creative too. So not only does it help us in our company, in our workplace, but it helps us as individuals. It helps us to see more solutions. When we see more solutions, we have less stress because we have more options. And so we're going to talk about how we do that and things that can be done. When we talk about creativity, oftentimes people refer to creativity in two ways. One is big C creativity, and the other is little c creativity. So big C creativity is really the big stuff, what you would see. These are the socially recognized creative processes, creative performances. These are major artworks. These are dances. These are musicals. These are really talented people that you look and you go, wow, that is a talented person. I wish I had those kind of talents, right? And those are big C, and they are blessed, and we are so grateful to have those people who have those abilities. But there's also little c creative. And little c creative are people who use creative solutions every single day in their lives. This includes cooking, creative processing. I don't have this ingredient. What am I going to do? How am I going to look in this refrigerator and come up with a meal for my family? How am I going to fix this thing that's broken when I don't have all the parts? I'm a big fan of duct tape and Gorilla Glue. How are we going to solve this problem that's presented itself to us? It includes things like decorating, planning, and problem solving. So we're not all going to be Picasso. We're not all going to be great musicians, but we can all use our creative process. So one of the things that we can do that's very helpful is to journal. Your textbook suggests journaling, which is a great tool, and it may be something for you to explore or consider. And when we do this kind of thing, it's just a way for us to record our thoughts, because they're just constantly flowing, and we need a way to memorialize that so we can come back and draw back and look at them again. So when we do journaling, which I do encourage you to do, jot those ideas down, come back and visit them again. But you want to do both your in and your out thoughts. So I'm thinking about this thing, and this is what comes from it. And we'll talk later as we advance about mind mapping and some other processes that help us kind of track those things. But don't be afraid of journaling. In fact, I think it's something that's very, very valuable, even just in organizing our thoughts, particularly those thoughts that are creative, because those creative thoughts don't always follow a logical line, and sometimes we have a hard time remembering where we started. Expect in creativity that you're going to fail. You're going to fail a lot. It's through that process of trying things out and not being afraid to experiment that you go, I wasn't perfect, but I want to go back to where it was good and try something else. So whether that be a menu planning, or whether that be decorating, or whether that be a new business idea, it's going back to what we felt good about and exploring some new thoughts until we get it exactly where we want to be. And don't be ashamed of that. All the great inventors tried over and over and over. Very, very rarely does somebody get it right on their first shot. It's perseverance, it's willingness, and it's an open mind. So come on back for the next chapter, and we'll talk about some more ideas. I look forward to seeing you soon.